His brow furrowed, genuine confusion flickering across his face in the low light from the city below. You're the problem? I repeated, the words tasting like copper and relief at the same time. Marcus blinked. Once, twice. Then he let out a soft, disbelieving laugh, the kind people give when they're sure they misheard. Me. What did I do? I gripped the neck of my beer bottle so hard I was surprised it didn't shatter. My pulse was roaring in my ears. 6 months of careful distance, pretending I didn't catalog the exact way his shoulders moved when he reached for something on the top shelf, of pretending I didn't replay the low rumble of his morning voice in my head on loop. All of it collapsed in that single moment. I'm in love with you, I said. The sentence came out flat, almost clinical, like I was diagnosing myself. Have been for months. And I know I held up a hand when he opened his mouth because I knew exactly what he was going to say. And I needed to get this out before the kindness in his eyes undid me completely. I know you're straight. I know this is the cliché to end all clichés. I know I'm the idiot who fell for the roommate who put LGBTQ plus friendly in his listing like it was a personality trait. I'm not asking you to do anything about it. I'm not trying to make this weird. I couldn't keep carrying it alone anymore. The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the faint hiss of the bottle condensing in my hand. Marcus stared at me. Not horrified. Not angry. Just stunned. Like someone had pulled the plug on a string he didn't know existed inside him. Adrian. He started, then stopped. He looked down at the beer in his hand like he'd forgotten it was there, then back at me. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I said quickly, already turning toward the sliding door. Seriously, I'll start looking for a new place tomorrow. I'll be out by the end of the month. No. The single word cracked across the balcony like a gunshot. He reached out and caught my wrist before I could escape inside. His grip was warm, careful, but firm enough that I couldn't pretend it was casual. Don't, please. I froze, half in and half out of the doorway, afraid to hope. Marcus let go of my wrists but didn't step back. He looked wrecked. Not disgusted, wrecked. Like I'd handed him a puzzle with half the pieces missing and told him his entire life depended on solving it tonight. I'm not. I've never. He dragged a hand through his hair again, harder this time. I've never thought about a guy like that. Not once. Not before you. My lungs forgot how to work. He kept going, voice rough. But these past couple months, I've been losing my fucking mind trying to figure out why nothing feels right. Why I keep comparing every woman I go out with to you. The way you laugh at my stupid coding jokes. The way you leave those little doodles on the sticky notes when you steal my coffee filters. The way you look when you're concentrating on your tablet and you bite your lip without realizing it. I thought I was just lonely. Or jealous of how easy you make everything seem. But it's not that. Took a shaky breath. When you stopped timing your mornings to match mine, when you started coming home later, staying in your room more, it felt like someone turned the volume down on the whole apartment. And I hated it. I hated that I noticed. I hated that I cared so much. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Marcus laughed again, but it was wet this time, almost broken. I kept thinking, he's your roommate, dumbass. Your male roommate. Get a grip, but I couldn't. And tonight, when you said you were withdrawing because of me, I thought, good. At least I'm not the problem, because I've been the problem for you too. He stepped closer, slowly, like I was a deer that might bolt. I don't know what this means. I don't have labels for it. I don't know if I'm bi or demi, or just completely fucked up over one specific person. All I know is the idea of you moving out feels like someone ripping out a lung. Another step. He was close enough now that I could smell cedar and the faint, hoppy trace of beer on his breath. I'm not asking you to stay and be miserable waiting for me to figure my shit out, he said quietly, but I'm asking you not to leave before I get the chance to try. My voice came out a croak. Try what? He swallowed hard. Kissing you. If you'll let me? Once. So I know if what I've been imagining for weeks is real, or if I've finally lost it.
Oh.
I stared at him. The boy I'd measured every other man against for half a year was standing in front of me, asking permission to kiss me, like his life depended on my answer. I didn't trust my voice, so I just nodded. Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. Then he lifted his hand, slowly, deliberately, and cupped the side of my face. His palm was warm, a little shaky. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone like he was memorizing the feel of it. He leaned in. The first touch of his lips was tentative. It's barely there, like he was giving me every possible chance to pull away. When I leaned into him instead, he made this quiet, broken sound in the back of his throat and kissed me again, deeper this time. Careful still, but certain. Like he'd been practicing this in his head 1,000 times and was stunned it was finally happening. It wasn't fireworks. It was gravity reorienting. The whole world tilting until north pointed straight at him. When we broke apart, foreheads still touching, he whispered against my mouth, "Okay, that was real." I laughed, or maybe sobbed. I'm not sure. Yeah. He pulled back just far enough to look at me, eyes wide and terrified and shining. I'm gonna need to do that a lot more to be sure, though. Scientific method and all. I kissed him this time. Harder, messier. 6 months of want pouring out between us until we were both shaking. Later, much later, when we were tangled on the couch trading slow, exploratory kisses like teenagers who'd just discovered the concept, Marcus murmured against my neck, "So, does this mean I get to be the straight guy who wasn't, after all?" I smiled into his hair. "Only if I get to be the idiot who fell for his roommate and actually won." He huffed a laugh, arms tightening around me. Deal. Outside, the city kept moving, oblivious. Inside, the apartment smelled like cedar and coffee and something new. Something like beginning, and for the first time in a long time, I believed in those stories after all. I never meant to fall in love with my best friend, but some things don't ask permission. Ethan and Yuke. I had been sharing the same cramped 2-bedroom in Brooklyn for almost 3 years. We met in college when we were both broke, both terrified of the city, and both pretending we weren't. He was the loud, golden retriever energy finance bro, who somehow never made me feel small for being the quiet graphic designer who still used a sketchbook instead of an iPad. We balanced each other. People said that all the time. "You two are like an old married couple." They'd laugh. We'd laugh too, because it was safer than admitting anything else. Then one Thursday night in October, everything cracked open. We were on the fire escape, legs dangling over the side, passing a warm bottle of red wine back and forth because we were too lazy to go inside for glasses. The city was loud below us, sirens and bass, and someone yelling about pizza. Ethan had just ended things with another girl, Lila. Lauren, I never remembered their names anymore. He was quieter than usual. "I don't get it, Cam," he said, staring at the skyline instead of me. "I keep picking the wrong people. Or maybe I'm the wrong people." I laughed under my breath. "You're not wrong. You're just aimless." He turned his head. "What's that supposed to mean?" I shrugged, suddenly aware of how close we were. Our shoulders were touching, always touching lately. You date these women who look perfect on paper, and then you sabotage it the second it gets real. He didn't argue. Just took a long drink from the bottle and handed it to me. Our fingers brushed. I hated how much I noticed. "I think I'm tired of pretending I know what I want," he said finally. The words sat heavy between us. I should have let it go. Should have changed the subject to rent or work, or the stupid neighbor who kept stealing our packages. But the wine and the night and the way he was looking at me, like I was the only real thing in his entire world, made me stupid. I know what I want. My voice came out rough. And it's a problem. Ethan went very still. "Say it." I laughed, but it sounded broken. "You know what I'm going to say? I want to hear it anyway." I closed my eyes. "I have feelings for you, Ethan. Real ones. The kind that make me hate every girl you bring home. The kind that make me lie awake listening to you breathe through the wall and pretend I'm not losing my mind." Silence. I opened my eyes. He was staring at me like I'd just pulled the pin on a grenade and handed it to him. Cam, I know. I cut in, already standing, already reaching for the window. I know you're straight. I know this is insane. I'll start looking for a new place tomorrow. I'm sorry. You kept pushing and Cameron. His hand closed around my wrists before I could climb back inside. His grip was warm, firm, not letting go. Sit down, I said. My heart was trying to punch its way out of my chest. He didn't let go of my wrist. I'm not. Disgusted, he said carefully. I'm not mad. And fuck, I don't know what I am. But I'm not asking you to leave. I laughed again, wet and awful. You should. This is going to ruin everything, he said. Or maybe I'm tired of ruining things with everyone else because I've been too much of a coward to look at what's right in front of me. I stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying. He exhaled hard, like the words physically hurt. I'm saying I don't know what I am. But when you said that, when you finally said it out loud, my first thought wasn't shit. My best friend is in love with me. It was relief. Like someone finally named the thing I've been carrying around for months and didn't have the balls to admit. I couldn't breathe. He kept going, voice low. I tell myself I make you breakfast every morning because I'm already cooking. I tell myself I hate your dates because they're all assholes. I tell myself I sit on the couch with my head in your lap during movies because we're just brothers being brothers. But I'm not that stupid, Cam. I'm just scared of what? I whispered. Of fucking this up. Of losing you? Of realizing I might want something I've spent 30 years telling myself I don't? I swallowed. And now? He looked at me, blue eyes wide open for once. No mask, no grin. Just Ethan, raw and terrified and beautiful. Now I need time. Not to decide if I want you here, I do. But to figure out what the hell this means. For me, for us. Can you give me that? I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, of course. He squeezed my wrist once, then let go. But he didn't move away. We stayed on the fire escape until the wine was gone and the city quieted down. Neither of us said goodnight. We just climbed back inside together, like always. But nothing felt like always anymore. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Ethan moving around the kitchen. I laid in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the awkwardness, the avoidance, the gentle letdown. It never came. When I finally shuffled out, it was at the stove in sweatpants, hair a mess, flipping pancakes like nothing had changed. Except he looked up when I walked in, and his smile was softer than usual. Morning, he said. Morning. He slid a mug across the counter to me, black, 2 sugars, exactly how I like it. Then, without asking, he put 2 pancakes on a plate and set it next to the coffee. We ate standing up, leaning against opposite counters, stealing glances like teenagers. So, he said eventually, licking syrup off his thumb, I've been thinking. My stomach flipped. Yeah, I don't want you to move out, okay? And I don't want to pretend last night didn't happen. I waited. He set his plate down. Took a step closer. I'm not ready to label anything or jump into anything. But I'm done lying to myself. And I think I want to figure this out. It's with you. If you're still willing to wait for someone who's apparently very slow on the uptake. I laughed, and it came out shaky and relieved and a little hysterical. Ethan, I've been waiting 3 years. I can wait a little longer. He smiled, then real, wide, the one that made my chest hurt. Good, he said. Because I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. He reached out, brushed a thumb across my cheek where I hadn't realized I'd started crying. Then he pulled me into a hug. Not a bro hug, a real one. Arms tight around my back, face pressed into my shoulder. Breathing me in like he was memorizing it, I held him back just as hard. Outside. Brooklyn kept moving, trains rattling, people shouting. Life going on. Inside our tiny kitchen, something quiet and enormous finally had a name. We didn't have all the answers. Maybe we never would. But for the first time in 3 years, We weren't lying anymore, and that was enough. I never saw it coming. Not from Elias. Elias, who'd had the same college girlfriend for 4 years, who still wore the UW hoodie she left at our place after they broke up, who told everyone casual, easy that he was basic straight guy. Nothing fancy. Elias, who could quote every line from the Lord of the Rings movies and made the best grilled cheese sandwiches on the planet and had never, not once in the 3 years we'd lived together, looked at me like I was anything more than his best friend until the night he did. We'd been drinking cheap red wine on the couch after a 12-hour coding sprint, some freelance app we were building together to pay rent. The rain hammered the loft windows, Seattle doing its November impression of the end of the world. Jonah Me was half asleep against the armrest, feet in Elias's lap because that's just where they ended up these days. Normal roommate stuff? Totally platonic. Then Elias said, so quietly I thought I misheard Jonah. What if I'm not as straight as I thought? I froze. The wine glass paused halfway to my mouth. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the TV, which was off, like the black screen might give him the answers. I managed, what? He rubbed a hand over his face. I've been having thoughts about you for months, maybe longer. And I kept shoving them down because what the hell? And we lived together, we worked together. You're my best friend and I'm not. He stopped, laughed once, brittle. I was so sure I wasn't. My heart was trying to exit my body through my throat. I set the glass on the coffee table before I dropped it. Elias, I said carefully, look at me. He did. Blue eyes, bloodshot from too much screen time, and maybe something else. Scared. I need you to say it plainly, I told him. Because I've been in love with you for 2 years and I'm not strong enough to survive thinking this is real if it isn't. The silence after that was deafening. Rain, the hum of the refrigerator, my own pulse. Then Elias whispered, I think I'm in love with you too. And I don't know what to do with that. He looked like he might bolt, so I reached out and caught his wrist. You don't have to know yet. Just don't run, please. He didn't run. The next morning, we sat at our tiny kitchen island with coffee going cold between us and laid. Ground rules like we were negotiating a peace treaty. We wouldn't tell anyone until we understood what we were. We wouldn't ruin the friendship if this turned out to be some fluke. We'd be honest. Brutally. No guessing games. That was the theory. In practice, the loft turned into a minefield of almosts. He started sitting closer when we watched shows. Our shoulders brushed and stayed brushing. He'd fall asleep with his head on my shoulder and I'd count his breaths like they were prayer beads. He started cooking breakfast shirtless, something he'd literally never done before, and then pretended it was because the radiator was acting up again. I started finding reasons to touch him, a hand on his back guiding him through doorways, fingers brushing when we passed the sriracha. We talked about everything except the thing we were doing. One night in early December, he came home late from a client dinner, cheeks flushed from cold and maybe whiskey. I was on the couch pretending to read code on my laptop. He dropped his coat, toed off his boots, and without a word crawled into my lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. Straddled my thighs, knees bracketing my hips, forehead pressed to mine. Hi, he breathed. Hi, I answered. Hands already settling on his waist because I was only human. I hate not kissing you, he said against my mouth. I think about it all the time. I laughed, shaky. Same. He pulled back just far enough to see my face. I'm still scared, I know. I've never wanted anyone like this. Not even her. Not even close. I swallowed hard. Elias. I'm not saying I have a label yet, he went on, rushed. Bisexual, pan, whatever. I don't care about the word right now. I just know it's you. It's been creeping up on me for months, and I kept trying to logic it away, and I can't anymore. I slid my hands up under the hem of his sweater, just to feel warm skin, to anchor myself. What do you need from me? Time, he said, and for you not to hate me if I screw this up. I could never hate you. He rested his head on my shoulder, arms around my neck. We stayed like that until the radiator clanked itself to sleep. Christmas came and went. We drove up to his mom's house in Bellingham and shared the guest room with twin beds pushed chastely apart. His little sister took one look at us and smirked like she'd won a bet. We didn't correct her. Back in Seattle, the tension became its own living thing. He'd catch me in the hallway and crowd me against the wall. Hands on either side of my head, breathing hard, but never quite closing the distance. I'd wake up to find him watching me from the doorway of my bedroom at 3 a.m., barefoot, hair a mess, looking lost. We kept inventing reasons to touch fixing each other's hoods, wiping flour off cheeks when we attempted cinnamon rolls, comparing hand sizes like middle-schoolers. Then came the night everything broke open. I'd had the day from hell. A client ghosted after we'd pulled 3 all-nighters. My bike got a flat in the pouring rain, and I'd ripped my favorite jeans climbing the stairs soaked. I slammed into the loft ready to cry or punch something. Elias took one look at med-ripping. Shivering, furious, and crossed the room in 4 strides. He cupped my face in both hands, thumbs stroking my wet cheeks. "Hey," he said softly. "Come back to me," I shattered. Just folded forward into his chest and let the tears come. He held me like he was built for it, one hand in my hair, the other rubbing slow circles on my back, hammering nonsense comfort into my hood. When I was done, he peeled my wet clothes off right there in the living room, wrapped me in the massive blanket we called the burrito, and sat me on the couch. 10 minutes later, he produced tomato soup and the most perfectly grilled cheese I'd ever seen. We ate curled together under the burrito, my legs over his lap, his arm around my shoulders. The rain eased into something gentle. Halfway through the movie, he muted it. "Jonah." I turned. He looked God. He looked sure. "I'm done waiting," he said. "I know what I want. It's you. It's been you for a long time, and I'm tired of pretending I need more time to be certain." "I'm certain." My breath caught. "You're sure?" He nodded. "I want to kiss you. I want to fall asleep next to you and wake up next to you. I want to tell my mom, and your mom, and my annoying sister, who already knows anyway. I want to stop acting like touching you is some kind of accident." Laughed wet and shaky. "Then kiss me, you idiot." He did it was soft at first, hesitant, like he was afraid I'd vanish. Then deeper, hungrier, his hands sliding into my hair. My name, a broken sound against my mouth. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing like we'd run miles. He rested his forehead against mine. "Still scared?" "Terrified," I admitted. "Good," he whispered. "Means it matters." Later, much later, we lay tangled in my bed-hour bed, no rain tapping the windows. City lights bleeding gold across the ceiling. His fingers traced idle patterns on my bare back. "Hey, Jonah. Thank you for waiting for me to catch up." I pressed a kiss to his collarbone. "You were worth the wait." Outside, Seattle kept raining, but inside the loft, it finally felt like spring. The first time Liam kissed me, it wasn't some cinematic explosion. It was just inevitable. We were on the sagging couch in the apartment we'd shared for 14 months. Some forgettable Netflix true crime thing murmuring in the background. I'd spent the entire evening trying not to stare at the way his hoodie rode up when he reached for the popcorn, and trying not to notice how the lamplight caught the gold in his hair. He'd been quiet all night, unusually so. Thud. Rubbing the label off his beer bottle like it owed him money. Then, out of nowhere, he said my name. Not the nickname everyone else used Theo, but Theodore. Slow and deliberate, like he was tasting it for the first time. I looked over. He was already looking at me. "I'm tired of pretending I don't want to do this," he said, voice rough. And before I could process the sentence, he was leaning in. The first brush of his mouth was careful, almost polite, like he was waiting for me to shove him away, call him an idiot, laugh it off. I didn't. I made this helpless noise I'm still embarrassed about and surged forward, fingers curling into the soft cotton of his hoodie. That seemed to flip a switch in him. His hand found the back of my neck, thumb stroking just under my hairline, and then he was kissing me like he'd been starving for it. Like I was the answer to a question he'd been carrying around for years when we pulled apart, both of us breathing like we'd sprinted up 10 flights of stairs. He rested his forehead against mine. "Jesus, Theo." Yeah, I managed. My heart felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my rib cage. You could have done that, I don't know, 6 months ago? He laughed, shaky and disbelieving. I'm a coward. And an idiot. You're here now, I said, and kissed him again, slower, deeper, until the room spun. Later, tangled together under a single blanket because neither of us wanted to move far enough to find another. He whispered against my collarbone. I always thought when this happened, if it happened, it'd feel wrong. Like I was lying. But it doesn't, it feels. He struggled for the word. Like gravity, I supplied. He huffed a soft laugh. Yeah, like I finally stopped fighting gravity. Yeah, we stayed like that until dawn crept gray through the blinds, trading lazy kisses and quiet confessions. I told him how I'd stopped bringing dates home because I couldn't stand the idea of someone else in my bed when all I wanted was him. He admitted he'd deleted Tinder 3 separate times because every time he swiped on a girl, he felt like he was settling for second best. Morning found us still wrapped around each other, coffee forgotten, and cold on the table. What do we call this? I asked eventually, tracing idle patterns on his wrist. Mine, he said simply. We call this mine. The first person we told was his little sister, Rowan. She was 23, terrifyingly perceptive, and in town for a long weekend before heading back to grad school in Boston. Liam insisted on doing it in person, which meant I spent 48 hours quietly, panicking that she'd hate me for converting her brother, or whatever nonsense straight people sometimes think. Happens. We met her at a tiny cafe in Capitol Hill that smelled like cardamom and old books. Rowan arrived in a swirl of scarf and purple hair, hugged Liam so hard his feet almost left the ground, then turned to me with the same gray-green eyes as her brother and said, "You look like you're about to puke." "Relax. I've been betting on this since last Christmas," Liam groaned. "You too." Rowan grinned, sharp and delighted. Liam spent 20 minutes describing the hilarious way you butter toast. Toast, Theo. I knew then. Liam's ears went scarlet. "I hate you." "No, you don't." She stole his latte and took a sip. "So, official boyfriends now?" "Something like that," Liam said, and reached under the table to lace his fingers through mine. His voice was steady, but I felt the faint tremor in his hand. "I'm still figuring out the words for what I am. Gay doesn't feel completely right. Bi, maybe. Queer feels honest. I don't know. I just know I'm stupid in love with Theo, and everything else is noise." Rowan's eyes went soft. She reached across and squeezed his free hand. "You don't owe the world a label on a deadline, dummy. I'm proud of you." She looked at me. "And you. I knew you were gone for him the first time you came to Sunday dinner and spent the whole night panicking that you'd used the wrong fork." "I did use the wrong fork," I muttered. "Exactly. Adorable." She leaned back, smug. "Mom's going to cry?" Happy tears, mostly. "Dad will grunt, say something awkwardly supportive about football, then buy you both hideous matching Christmas sweaters. You've been warned." Liam laughed, tension bleeding out of his shoulders. "We'll tell them after Thanksgiving. I need a minute to breathe first." "Take all the minutes," Rowan said. "Just don't make me wait another year for a wedding invitation, yeah?" "Rowan? What?" "I have a bet going with Aunt Linda. Telling my people was easier in some ways, harder in others. My best friend Mara Hood watched me pine pathetically for the entire time Liam was dating that girl from his office. Took one look at us holding hands at brunch and said, "I was about to lock you in a closet myself." Her girlfriend Sam, more cautious, pulled me aside later. "He's brand new to this. You sure you're ready for the roller coaster?" "I've been on the roller coaster since the day he moved in," I said. "At least now I get to hold his hand while we scream." Liam's hockey buddies were a mixed bag. Most of them stared like we'd grown extra heads when he brought me to their weekly pickup. A couple clapped him on the back and said nice. Man, like he'd finally scored the winning goal he'd been chasing for years. One guy, Derek, who I'd always disliked, made a crude joke about switching teams. Liam shut it down with a quiet, "Don't." Derek never made another joke again. Slowly, They adjusted. Liam started changing in the locker room without flinching when someone glanced his way. He corrected people when they asked about his girlfriend with a calm boyfriend. Actually, Theo posted a photo of us on Instagram, me asleep on his shoulder during a red-eye flight. His lips pressed to my temple with the caption, "Soft dash landing, JPG." The comments flooded with heart emojis, a few fire emojis, and one from Rowan that just said finally. 3 months in, we were sprawled on the same couch where it all started, arguing over whether to re-watch The Thing or try some new horror movie Rowan had recommended. Carpenter is king, Liam insisted. Stealing the remote? You only like it because of the beard guy, I teased. I only like it because of the practical effects. The beard guy is a bonus, I snorted. Sure. He tackled me sideways, pinning my wrists above my head with one hand while he tickled me mercilessly with the other. I shrieked, laughing so hard my ribs hurt, until he relented and kissed me quiet. When we came up for air, his eyes were serious. I love you, he said. He hadn't said it yet, not out loud. We danced around it for weeks. I felt my throat close. Yeah, a lot. Like, probably unhealthy amounts. I pulled him down until our noses touched. Good, because I loved you first, and I'm competitive. He smiled against my mouth. Brat, you're brat. He kissed me again, soft and slow, like he had all the time in the world. Like he'd fight gravity itself to keep us right here. Later. When the credits rolled on whatever movie we'd half-watched, he murmured into my hair. Still feels like coming home. I tangled our fingers together and squeezed. Welcome home, Liam. The apartment listing was terrible. One blurry photo of a living room, a rent that was suspiciously low for Brooklyn in 2023, and a single line, looking for a chill roommate. Preferably someone who doesn't mind sports on TV and the occasional late-night gaming session. I'm straight, 29, work in finance, no drama. I was 27, broke, and had exactly 9 days before my sublet in Bushwick turned into a pumpkin. I messaged anyway, Ethan replied within minutes. Ethan, yo, you cool with dogs? I have a rescue mutt named Pickles? Me. I love dogs. I also love not being homeless, Ethan. LOL. Come see it tomorrow. I showed up hungover from a client dinner, wearing yesterday's button-down and the desperate smile of someone who'd already been ghosted by 3 Craigslist psychos. Ethan opened the door in sweatpants and a Syracuse hoodie, hair still wet from a shower, holding a half-eaten bagel. Pickles, a brindle pit mix with one torn ear, launched himself at my shins like we'd been separated at birth. Lucas Wright, Ethan said, mouth full. Come in before the dog adopts you permanently. The apartment was perfect in the way only pre-war walk-ups in Greenpoint can be. Creaky floors, too much sunlight, a kitchen so small we'd have to take turns breathing. Ethan gave me the tour like he was trying to sell me a used car he secretly loved. And this would be your room. Or my gym/storage unit right now. I'll clear it out by the weekend, swear to God. I moved in 4 days later. For the first month, we were polite strangers who shared Wi-Fi and a Costco membership. He left protein shake rings on the counter, left sheet masks in the freezer. He watched football at volumes that made Pickles howl along. I listened to Lana Del Rey on noise-canceling headphones and pretended. I wasn't cataloging the way his t-shirts clung when he came back from runs. Then came the snowstorm in February. Subways shut down, offices closed. And suddenly we were trapped together for 3 straight days with nothing but a dwindling supply of wine and the complete Fast and Furious franchise.
Nice.
By the second night we were drunk on cheap Malbec, sitting cross-legged on the living room rug, while Pickles snored between us. Ethan stretched arms overhead, hoodie riding up just enough to show the cut line of his obliques. Obliques, can I ask you something kind of personal? He said out of nowhere. Shoot, how did you? That you were into guys. I blinked. We'd talked about exes before, mine all men, his all women, but never like this. I think I was 8 when I realized I wanted to kiss my best friend Noah instead of his sister. Laughed, trying to keep it light. You're hitting a sexuality crisis at 30, Brooks? He huffed a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. I don't know, man. Lately I keep noticing shit I never noticed before. Like, guys. And it's freaking me out. The air in the room changed temperature. I took a slow sip of wine, noticing how he rubbed the back of his neck. Like, I'll be at the gym and catch myself staring at some dude's back and think, damn, that's a nice back. And then I panic because what the fuck? I set my glass down. Ethan, it's okay if the answer isn't straight anymore. He looked at me for a long beat, eyes wide and a little glassy from the wine. Yeah, he said quietly. I think it hasn't been for a while. Nothing happened that night. We finished the bottle, watched Paul Walker do something heroic with a car, and went to bed in separate rooms. But the next morning he made coffee. For two without asking how I take it, and when he handed me the mug, his fingers lingered half a second too long. Spring arrived sideways. Rain one day, 80 degrees the next. Ethan started finding excuses to be in the same room I was in. He'd wander into the kitchen while I cooked and lean against the counter asking pointless questions about garlic. He'd pause his PlayStation game when I walked past and pat the couch cushion next to him like Pickles did when he wanted pets. In May. His firm sent him to London for 2 weeks. The apartment was too quiet. I missed the sound of him singing. Off-key in the shower, missed the way Pickles followed him from room to room like a shadow. I caught myself checking my phone for texts that weren't coming. He landed at JFK on a Wednesday night. I told myself I was just being a good roommate when I offered to pick him up. Definitely not because I'd spent 14 days climbing the walls. He came through arrivals looking rumpled and homesick, backpack slung over one shoulder, and when he spotted me, his whole face lit up in a way that punched the air out of my lungs. Hey, roommate, he said, voice rough from the flight. Hey yourself. In the cab home, he fell asleep with his head on my shoulder, breath warm against my neck. I didn't move away. 3 nights later, we were on the couch again, some dumb Marvel movie neither of us was watching. Ethan muted the TV. I need to say something, he said, and I need you not to freak out. I raised an eyebrow. Historically, that's never a good opener. He laughed, nervous. When I was in London, I went out with some coworkers. This guy hit on me, super hot British guy, accent and everything, and all I could think was, I wished it was you. My heart tried to exit through my throat. He kept going, words tumbling. I don't know what I'm doing, Lucas. I've never felt like this about a guy, about anyone, but it's you. It's been you for months, and I'm terrified I'm going to fuck it up. I reached over and took the remote out of his hand, set it aside. You're not fucking it up right now by talking instead of kissing me. He kissed me like he'd been starving for it. Hesitant at first, then desperate, hands fisting in my shirt, my hair, like if he'd let go, I'd vanish. We didn't make it off the couch that night, just kissing, clumsy and perfect, learning the shape of each other's mouths until the sky outside turned pink. After, he rested his forehead against mine, breathing hard. So, that happened. Yeah, I whispered. It did. The next morning, he panic texted from the office bathroom. Ethan, I'm not having a heart attack, or is this normal me? Totally normal. Breathe. Also, you left your boxers on the living room floor thin. Sack of tea. We tried to be sensible. Talked about taking it slow, about the fact he'd never dated a man, about how some of his friends might be assholes about it. But slow lasted exactly 4 days before he was crowding me against the kitchen counter at 2 a.m., kissing me like the world was ending because I'd made him laugh at something stupid. Summer came in humid and golden. He told his sister Claire first, over FaceTime. She took one look at his face and said finally, then demanded to know when she could meet the man who turned my idiot brother bi. His college friends were mixed. Some slapped him on the back and bought us shots. Others suddenly remembered they were super busy whenever we tried to make plans. One guy, Derek, got drunk and asked if Ethan was going through a phase. Ethan looked him dead in the eye and said, Nah, I'm going through Lucas, and I almost choked on my beer. In September, his parents announced they were coming for a long weekend. Ethan spent 2 weeks spiraling. I can't lie to them, he said, pacing our bedroom in nothing but boxer briefs, but I'm not ready for the conversation. What if they hate me? They're not going to hate you, I said, catching his wrist and tugging him down onto the bed. They might be confused. They might need time. But they love you. He buried his face in my neck. I hate making you hide. I'm not hiding. I'm giving you space to do this at your pace. There's a difference. We played the roommate charade for 4 excruciating days. I slept in the second bedroom. We ate meals together like polite acquaintances. His mom kept looking between us like she was trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. The night before they left, Ethan knocked on my door at 1 a.m. I almost told them at dinner, he whispered, crawling into bed with me. Dad asked if I was happy, and I almost said, yeah, because I'm in love with Lucas. I kissed the top of his head. You'll tell them when you're ready. I'm going to do it at Christmas, he promised into my shoulder. No more hiding. He kept the promise. Flew to Rochester alone the week after Christmas. Called me from the car outside his childhood home, shaking so hard I could hear his teeth chatter. They cried, he said when he phoned that night. Mom hugged me for like 10 minutes. Dad said. They cried, he said when he phoned that night. Mom hugged me for like 10 minutes. Dad said. Dad said as long as I'm happy, he's happy. They want to meet you properly. Like soon. I started crying in the middle of the frozen aisle at Trader Joe's. Spring brought a curveball. Ethan got headhunted by a fintech startup in Austin. 6 figures. Equity. The whole unicorn dream. I'm not going, he said the second he told me, like he'd already decided. I set down my coffee. Ethan, this is your career. You're my life. That's romantic, but also stupid. Austin has an amazing queer scene. I can freelance from anywhere. We're not staying in New York just because I'm scared of change. He stared at me. You'd move? For me? I'd move with you. There's a difference. We moved in June, found a little house in Travis Heights with a backyard big enough for pickles to chase squirrels and a porch swing that creaked in the breeze. Ethan's parents flew down for the housewarming, and his mom hugged me so hard, I saw stars. 1 year and 3 months to the day after that first kiss on the couch, Ethan took me to Ladybird Lake at sunset. We walked the trail until the city lights started flickering on across the water. He stopped under a cypress tree and pulled a small wooden box from his pocket. Not an engagement ring, he said quickly, because he knows I spook easy. Not yet, just a promise. Inside were 2 thin rose gold bands, each engraved with the coordinates of our Greenpoint apartment. I want you to know I'm all in, he said, voice cracking on the last word. No more halfways or almosts. Wherever we go next, whatever version of me shows up. Gay, bi, whatever the fuck I choose you. Every day. For the rest of them, I slipped his ring on with shaking fingers. He did the same for me. Then he kissed me soft and slow while the bats poured out from under Congress Avenue Bridge like dark confetti. Last month we hosted our first Thanksgiving in the new house. Claire flew in with her wife. Ethan's parents brought his grandmother, who took one look at us holding hands and announced, "Took you long enough, Ethan Daniel." My sister drove down from Dallas with her kids, who spent the entire night trying to teach Pickles to high-five. Later, after the dishes were done and the house finally quiet, Ethan found me on the porch swing. Remember when I was a clueless straight boy who just needed a roommate? He asked, settling beside me. Vaguely, I teased. He took my hand, thumb tracing the band on my finger. Best plot twist of my life. I leaned my head on his shoulder. Somewhere inside, someone laughed. Probably Claire, telling the story of how Ethan once tried to ask a guy out and accidentally sent the text to his group chat titled Bros and Brews. Love isn't always fireworks and grand gestures. Sometimes it's a bad Craigslist ad and a rescue dog with 1 torn ear. Sometimes it's coming out at 30 and realizing the person you're terrified to lose has been waiting for you to catch up all along. Sometimes your straight roommate isn't straight. And sometimes, if you're very, very lucky, he turns out to be the love of your whole damn life.